Have you ever picked up a product and just it felt perfect? It works exactly like it's supposed to every single time. Well, that's not magic, and it's definitely not a fluke. Behind pretty much every great product or service we use, there's this hidden system, a framework that's specifically designed to prevent failure. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at the systems of quality. So, to really get why these systems are so critical, let's just start with a basic question. We've all been there, right? You buy something, you're excited about it, and then it breaks. It's a huge pain for us, but what does that failure actually cost the company that made it? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated and way more expensive than you might think. See, in the world of quality management, failures aren't just little annoyances. Nope, they are measurable costs, the kind of costs that can seriously hurt a business. This is what's known as the price of imperfection. Okay, so take a look at this. It breaks down into two very different types of failure. Over on the left, you've got your internal failure costs. This is when the company catches its own mistake before it gets to you. A bad part is found on the assembly line. Yeah, it costs some money to scrap it or fix it, but the key thing is, you, the customer, have no idea it even happened. But the stuff on the right, that's where it gets really dangerous. External failure costs. This is when that defective product actually lands in your hands. This is what leads to massive recalls, lawsuits, and the single most damaging cost of all, a customer who is so unhappy they never buy from you again. You just can't put a price tag on that kind of lost trust. So if the cost of getting it wrong is that high, how do the best companies on the planet avoid it? Well, they don't just cross their fingers and hope for the best. They build a system. They put a framework in place that's designed for quality right from the very start. Let's take a look at three of the biggest, most influential frameworks out there. First up is Total Quality Management, or TQM. And the keyword here really is total. This isn't about creating a quality department off in some corner. No, this is a whole company philosophy. It was kind of a revolutionary idea, actually, making quality every single person's responsibility, from the CEO down to the person packing the box. TQM is all about building a culture where quality is just how you do things. And TQM really stands on three simple but super powerful pillars. First, customer satisfaction. Basically, the company doesn't get to decide what good quality is, the customer does. Second, employee involvement. The idea here is that quality isn't just one person's job. It belongs to everyone. And third, continuous improvement. This is this relentless belief that you can always find ways to get better. It's a constant, never-ending search for better. Next up, we have ISO 9001. Now, if you think of TQM as the internal culture, think of ISO 9001 as the external proof. It's this globally recognized standard that basically certifies that a company has a documented, reliable, and consistent system for quality. This is a huge deal for businesses that work with other businesses. I mean, a lot of big companies won't even talk to a supplier unless they're ISO 9001 certified. It's like having a passport that lets you do business anywhere in the world. And for our third framework, we have Six Sigma. This is where data becomes the absolute star of the show. It got its start at Motorola, and it's a super disciplined, statistics-heavy approach. So if TQM is the philosophy and ISO is the certified standard, you can think of Six Sigma as this incredibly powerful microscope you use to hunt down and completely eliminate the root causes of problems. So while TQM gives you the big picture philosophy and ISO gives you the standard, Six Sigma gives you a repeatable process you can use to get better. And to really see how these systems work, let's get our hands dirty and dive into the engine that really drives Six Sigma. What does near perfection actually look like when you put a number on it? It all comes down to this: 3.4. That's the goal. A Six Sigma process aims to have no more than 3.4 defects for every 1 million opportunities. Just let that sink in for a second. Not 3 per 100 or 3 per 1,000, 3 per million. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. A pretty typical process, one that's not super tightly controlled, might be running at what's called a 3 sigma level. And hey, 99.73% defect-free sounds really good, right? But do the math, and that still leaves you with 2,700 defects for every million you make. Six Sigma is playing a totally different game. It's about closing that tiny, tiny gap between what we think of as really good and what is virtually perfect. So how in the world do you actually get there? Well, Six Sigma gives you a 5-step roadmap. It's called DMAIC. First, you define the problem clearly. Then, you measure your current performance with cold, hard data. Third, you analyze that data to dig down and find the absolute root cause of the problem. Fourth, you improve the process to get rid of that root cause for good. And finally, and this is super important, you control the new process to make sure the problem doesn't creep back in. It's a logical, data-first way to solve pretty much anything. Now, that DMAIC cycle sounds great in theory, but to actually do the measuring and analyzing, you need specific tools. And these aren't just for fancy statisticians. They're really practical, often visual tools that teams use to make sense of some really complex problems. Let's make this super real. Imagine you're running a restaurant. You know things could be better. You hear customers complaining, but they're complaining about a bunch of different things. You've got limited time, limited money. Where do you even start? You start with the data. You just create a simple sheet, and for a week, you tally up every single complaint. You wind up with a list that looks something like this. And honestly, it feels a little overwhelming. The food's not hot, the server was weird, the bill was wrong. Where do you focus? This is where a simple little tool called a Pareto chart changes absolutely everything. Just by sorting the complaints from the most frequent to the least, the picture becomes crystal clear. I mean, look at that chart. Long wait time is just towering over everything else. In fact, that one single problem is happening almost twice as much as the next biggest issue. The Pareto chart is all about focus. It lets you put your energy where it's going to have the biggest possible impact. Instead of chasing 10 little problems all at once, you attack the one big one. You solve the long wait time, and you're going to make the biggest dent in overall customer happiness, period. Okay, awesome. The Pareto chart just told us exactly what the problem is, but it doesn't tell us why the wait times are so long. To get to that root cause, we need to pull another classic quality tool out of our toolbox. This is a cause and effect diagram. It's also called an Ishikawa diagram, but honestly, everybody just calls it a fishbone diagram because, well, look at it. The design is just pure genius. The head of the fish is your problem, the effect. In our case, that's long wait time. And all the little bones branching off are the potential causes. And to make the brainstorming even more structured, the main bones are usually labeled with these common categories. So a team would get together and ask questions. Is it a people problem? Maybe we need better training. Is it a method or process problem? Is our kitchen workflow inefficient? Is it our equipment, our machines? The diagram just helps you map out every single possibility so you can zero in on the true root cause. So let's pull all these different pieces back together. We've talked about philosophies and standards and statistical methods and these really practical tools. And all of it, every single piece, points to one incredibly powerful idea. And here it is, the big takeaway. The products and services you love, the ones that just feel effortless and dependable, their quality is not an accident. It is the result of a deliberate system. It's a philosophy like TQM, setting the culture, a standard like ISO, proving there's a process, a method like Six Sigma driving constant improvement, and tools like Pareto and fishbone diagrams solving problems on the ground. It all has to work together. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought. The next time you use a piece of software that doesn't crash or get into a car that feels perfectly solid, just take a second and ask yourself, what invisible system is humming away in the background here? What framework of quality is silently at work, preventing all the failures you never even had to know about?